You guys know the song The Night We Met by Lord Huron? That's how I'm starting to feel about this game, because man, this big new meta controversy is ridiculous, because I even wonder if the devs are playing their own game. But today we have a lot to talk about the meta and the upcoming changes that may or may not ever happen that a lot of us have been asking for. But along with that, some other topics as well. So make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, because we're still giving away this Loba heirloom. You got about 6 days left, and then we're picking that winner. At the end of the video, I'll link you to my last video so that you can comment over there as well and have another entry. You get 1 entry per video, so good luck. So let's start it off. So yesterday I told you guys that Respawn was actually hosting a Reddit AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything, and they were going to be talking about the legends and the weapons that are in the game, and basically some of the decisions and the routes that they were taking each one of them. Well, the problem with all of this is they actually decided to make some very controversial decisions and got a lot of explanations that many of the community members were not happy about, especially after one dev was caught in a very sticky situation, considering one of the explanations he made kind of proved that he's not even playing his own game. So big credit to Samantha with a P, or Samathe. Bro, we're friends on Twitter and we talk, and I still literally, you've not told me how to pronounce your name yet. I know you're watching this video, just literally tell me how to pronounce it. In this Reddit AMA, they were actually talking about a couple of things, one of those being Loba and Pathfinder. So I want to actually kind of give all of the context first before I tell you exactly what made people mad here. Someone was suggesting, you know, why doesn't Loba have an ability that's similar to Pathfinder's, in which if she doesn't go the full distance for her bracelet, she doesn't have as large of a cooldown? Because if Pathfinder takes a very short grapple, he has a lot shorter cooldown than if he takes a very far grapple. So Loba should have the same exact thing. He says the context here, someone suggested for Loba to have the same cooldown as Path, at least lower it to 25 seconds. 30 seconds is just too long for her bracelet. It's way too much. This was the video that they tagged in the background. You guys can see the testing of this, and it definitely makes a lot of sense. Very short distance should not have a 30-second cooldown. Also followed it up saying the old game designer DZK, who actually left the company, agreed multiple times that 30 seconds is way too much. Sadly, right before he left, he could have made this change happen. This was a post from over a year ago where someone said, "Hey Daniel, I have a small suggestion for a small Loba tactical buff. I hope you reply." So by the way, ignore my daughter screaming in the background. She's 7 months old. She just found her voice and she's just screaming. So Apex Fan 12 says, so you know how Pathfinder's cooldown is based on how far he goes? Well, I was wondering if there's any way you could do the same thing for Loba, where her tactical cooldown is based on how far her bracelet goes. I think it's a good idea, because there's many times where I've and many others have accidentally thrown it right in front of us and have to wait 30 full seconds for it to recharge. I hope you see this. DZK made a response here, says I definitely could do that. Could also just shave off some time in general. I think the animations pre and post use could also use some tightening. The thing is, she's pretty good right now. We'll let her rest for a patch or two. Obviously, shortly after this is when he left the company. So unfortunately, that great idea that the original game designer had probably planned to do never came to fruition. I'm not sure who the lead game designer currently is. This guy on Reddit whose name is RV Devon. I did a little bit of research and found out apparently his name is Devin McGuire, but unfortunately I also couldn't find anything over on Twitter. I could be wrong with that, but that's just the research that I came up with. But when you think of game balancing, we normally think of John Larson, as he's the guy who's mostly active on Twitter. However, his Twitter bio is not the lead game designer. He's just a game designer. But we know John Larson plays a lot because this guy's actually masters currently in Apex Legends, so he definitely puts in a lot of time. However, the guy in the Reddit post, like I said, was the lead game designer, so we know it's not the same person. We also know John Larson wouldn't say something as stupid as what you're about to hear, so take a listen to this. In all of that context, this is what the Respawn developer replied with. He says, many of the comments in this thread do a really good job outlining the differences between the two abilities that give merit to the different handling of their cooldowns. Pathfinder's change was an answer to a problem in the game that a longer cooldown did not solve alone. In Loba's case, the use cases and outputs are very different. The longer cooldown makes you think about the most effective time to use it, which is often for an escape or high ground repositioning. A shorter cooldown would lead to less conservation of the ability and more repetitive, untrackable mid-combat evasion. That's what's so controversial. I'll come back to that in just a second after I finish reading it. He says, at present, we're not seeing any egregious issues with her playstyle or balance that would warrant this type of change. So if this guy comes on here and says, you know, hey, we don't see anything in the gameplay, any data, any analytics that would refer to the reason as why we need to add this feature, that's one thing, okay? I don't think anybody would bat an eye. We would probably maybe dispute it, because I think a lot of times we have great ideas and they'll come out and pull that card of, like, you know, the data shows otherwise, the analytics show otherwise. Same thing with solos. There's no way you convince me, after every single poll in the world that has ever taken, solos is always the dominant game mode that people want to return, but yet they'll tell you that solos had a negative and bad impact on the community. I just don't understand. Problem and the controversy here is the fact that he says she has untrackable mid-combat evasion. My brother in Christ, I'm not sure if you're playing this game or not. When Loba throws that tactical bracelet, there is just bright freaking blue line of light that tells you exactly where she's headed. There's also this really loud audio of where she landed, and her ability is the furthest thing from untrackable. The controversy here is that the community fan base that actually are playing the game day in and day out understand Loba's the furthest thing from untrackable. The lead game designer is saying she's untrackable and using it as a defense as to why not to bring a buff. This is why what I'm about to say may not always be correct in every situation. However, I think it's correct in most, and that is the fact that people that play this game either A, for a living, or B, you know, just a ton of time, have more understanding of what should and should not be in the game than someone who's just looking at a data sheet trying to understand what's going on. I could be shut up. This guy might be a master behind closed doors. I'm not sure, but whatever he said is obviously wrong because we know she's not untrackable. The only reason you can make a statement like that is because you don't play your own game and you don't understand how Loba's really used. Truly trying to cover my tracks here because I don't want someone to come out and say, oh, actually Devin McGuire is an Apex Predator or something, because if it happened, obviously I'd feel dumb. But there's no way you can make a statement like that and also be like, you know, one of the highest ranks in the game or put in a lot of time. There's just no way, because she's obviously not what he's saying. As controversial as DZK was, and I understand a lot of people didn't like him because he made a lot of contact with the community and also got into a lot of arguments with the community, I would say I'm very happy that he was making a lot of changes and listening to what the community feedback was, because they also made a response on Pathfinder's passive from that same Reddit AMA, and they said, we're looking at it, but we don't want to slap a new passive on a legend who's already well liked, powerful, and performing well, but I'm hopeful for the future in friendly upcoming seasons. 752 likes on a response here coming from Light, saying the illusion that he is performing well will be the downfall of legend balancing, and then Blazin also saying, I really think it's a playtime / skill floor fallacy. Pathfinder's an OG legend. Watch the point he makes here, because honestly it's a very good point to drive in. He says, so people winning with him are probably better than average. He also has a relatively high skill floor, so again, people playing him will probably be better at the game. Good players winning doesn't make legend strong. Best way I can put this is not everything needs to be followed by data, analytics, or numbers. Sometimes you have to have the eye test, and honestly I can't think of a better person to be in charge of all of this, considering he puts a lot of time into the game, than John Larson. This was Evan, the guy who's actually a senior design director over at Respawn, basically said not long ago that they were looking for a lead game designer position for Respawn Entertainment back in February 28. This was months before that. A lot of pro players were saying promote John Larson to lead game designer. This guy is putting in the most time. He's probably the highest ranked Respawn developer or something like that. He's also expressed already that before he was getting hired from Respawn, he was playing this game a lot. I'm not saying that knowing numbers, data, analytics is not an important part of being a Respawn developer. What I am saying is that if you look at like esports coaches, most of those guys are ex-pro players, and there's a reason for that. You want someone who's not just playing games casually, but they know what it's like at the highest rank, they know what it's like at the lowest rank, they know what it's like at the mid ranks, they know how to get through every rank, they know how to use every gun to the best of their ability. Someone with like an unmatchable experience. And obviously there needs to be a good restraint on it at all times, because sometimes I think the pros give really good insight and we really need to listen to them, and then other times I think they're just griping and complaining about absolutely nothing and we shouldn't listen to them. I don't know, maybe he used the wrong wordage here, but it's just really hard to listen to someone talk about what should and should not be in the game, what should and should not be changed, when he's obviously not aware himself that Loba does not have untrackable movement. I don't know, it's a very interesting conversation. Let me know what you guys think needs to be nerfed, buffed, changed, reworked down in the comment section below. Leave a like on the video if you guys did enjoy, and make sure to also comment, because you'll be entered in for a chance to win that Loba heirloom. If you guys missed yesterday's entry, click the video right here on screen. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. This is Vibe or Die, only positivity. Until the next time, later Gators.